When people talk about great communicators, they often mention presidents, CEOs, public figures with big voices. But one of the most skillful media communicators of the 20th century was not loud at all. She didn't dominate the room. She didn't try to impress anyone. It was First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy, or as I'll refer to her today, Mrs. Kennedy. In an era of aggressive questioning and limited airtime, she mastered something many leaders today still struggle with: thoughtful, concise, elegant answers. In this video, we're going to watch several short sound bites from Mrs. Kennedy, and I'll break down what she does so well so you can apply the same principles to your own media interviews, presentations, or even internal communication. If you're new to my channel, I'm Susan Saravo, and I'm sharing my knowledge from decades of experience as a communications professional, media trainer, and TV reporter. So let's dive in. In our first clip, Mrs. Kennedy explains who the White House really belongs to.
Mrs. Kennedy, what changes, if any, have you made in the White House since you moved in?
I really haven't made many, Mr. Van Oker, because one can't. It doesn't belong to anyone but to everyone in this country.
What I love about this is the clarity. She answers in a way that's simple, memorable, and rooted in values. She doesn't ramble. She doesn't over-explain. She gives one clean idea. It doesn't belong to anyone, but to everyone in this country. And that's what I call a framing answer. It elevates the conversation. It positions her role as a steward, not an owner. It turns a factual question into a message with emotional resonance. Modern leaders can learn a lot from this. You don't just answer the question, you express the principle behind your work. Now watch how Mrs. Kennedy frames the purpose behind restoring the White House.
What do you think has to be done to the White House?
The thing I care about most is to make it more of a museum, with more pieces of beautiful furniture that belong to old presidents. There's very little antique furniture here now, and most of what is dates from 1902.
Notice the structure of her answer. She gives a clear goal to make it more of a museum, a reason people can feel good about it. It's preserving history. A benefit to the public so visitors can connect with the past. That's perfect message design. Many leaders talk about what they're doing. Mrs. Kennedy starts with why, and the why is always bigger than herself. This is what makes her sound thoughtful without going too long. She picks the one point that matters most and delivers it with intention. Real quick, if you need help preparing for media interviews, you can book a strategy call with me to see if my program is a fit for you. I just got this text from a client after she had a radio interview in a top 10 market. Let's move on to the next clip. Listen to how Mrs. Kennedy talks about wanting the White House to feel warmer and more welcoming.
If I may say so without disrespect, every time I've been in the White House, it's always seemed to be a rather cold and austere place. Have you found it so?
Well, I remember the first time I came here as a child feeling that. I was 11 years old, and my mother brought me here on Easter vacation, and I felt very much what you say. So I do try to make it warmer now when I think of all the school children who come through here. I think there should be flowers when there can be, and fires going, and the pictures, and to make it look rather like a home and not so frightening.
This is a fantastic example of humanizing an institutional role. She could have said, we added decorative elements to improve the aesthetic experience. She could have said that. But no, she says things like flowers, fires, warmth. She paints a really nice picture. She shares a personal anecdote from her childhood, just enough to feel relatable without oversharing. Every executive I coach can benefit from this reminder. Human stories stick. Technical explanations don't really. This is how you make people feel something and connect with you. Okay, let's move to this next moment where Mrs. Kennedy explains the importance of creating a catalog of historical pieces.
School children who come through the White House, what do you think they take away with them beyond the fact that they can say back home, I was there? Do they know what they've seen?
No, and I think they should. The first thing I'd like to do is have a catalog made for the White House with a description and a history and of every piece and every room and who gave it so that they can learn history. And to get a catalog, one must get a curator. We're working on that now. And he will be the historian of the White House. No one will give us beautiful pieces of furniture unless they know they're going to be cared for and treated as a museum.
This is concise communication, really at its best. She explains what she's doing, why it matters, and who benefits, all in a single calm answer. She also does something subtle but powerful. She speaks as a guardian of history, not the star of the project. Confidence without ego, presence without performance. It's a lesson for any spokesperson who wants credibility without sounding rehearsed or, like a robot. In this final clip, listen to how Mrs. Kennedy discusses the challenge of protecting her children's privacy.
Do you find the White House is a very good place to raise children? How has your life changed since you've come here?
It is rather hard with children. There's so little privacy. I don't mind for myself, but I think it's very hard with them. For instance, I wanted to take my daughter to the circus last week, and I decided I just shouldn't because I would ruin it for her. I worked so hard to make her little ballet school a private thing that we could do together. And there were all the photographers waiting when we got there. So it's a little hard.
Well, do you really hope, Mrs. Kennedy, that you can achieve this aim, to keep a private life for your children? Is this really possible now that you're in the White House?
Well, I hoped it was. You rather discouraged me, Mr. Van Oka, but I hope it is, and I'm going to try very hard to do that. Because otherwise, how can I bring up normal children if they can't be treated that way?
This is emotional territory, but she handles it with extraordinary clarity and restraint. She doesn't attack the press. She doesn't complain. She gives a principled, measured, and respectable explanation of why privacy matters for children, while still acknowledging public interest because it's there in spades. This balance is very difficult, and even more so today, with everyone having a video camera on their cell phone. Her strategy: state the value, state the challenge, stay calm, and always stay gracious. When you're dealing with sensitive topics, this is the model. You can be firm without being defensive, and you can also be human without becoming overly emotional. You can be brief and still leave a lasting impression. What stands out about Mrs. Kennedy's communication style is that she never rushes. She never crowds her answers. She never tries to sound impressive. She's not trying to sell you on something. She's just being herself. She speaks with clarity, with restraint, with elegance. She's intentional. And that's why her answers hold up today, decades later, while many modern interviews do not. If you want to improve your own media presence, just watching her clips sounding confident, concise, and credible, it's really a master class in learning how to be in front of the media and make a good impression without even trying. And if you'd like help developing your sound bites, tightening your delivery, and showing up with clarity on camera, that's exactly what I do with my Smart Presence coaching program. I'll put a link below where you can learn more. Thank you for watching this video, and let's keep learning from the great communicators who came before us.